On this episode of Sports for Beginners, season number 5, we get ready for the WNBA inaugural season of the Toronto Tempo, the season of the Tempo, plus what's going on in professional women's hockey league action, who made the final spot in the PWHL playoffs. Have they expanded? We can confirm the league has expanded from 8 teams to 9 teams. All this and so much more on this edition of Sports for Beginners. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports from the fans' perspective. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sports for Beginners, season number 5. I am your lovely host, Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. On today's show, the Stanley Cup Playoffs continue to get in high gear. The PWHL making some breaking news as far as league expansion. And we are counting down the days to tip-off of the inaugural WNBA regular season for the Toronto Tempo. Our focus on Sports for Beginners is moving a little bit more to the baseball side of things, where as we speak, the Toronto Blue Jays have been swept by the Tampa Bay Rays. 3-0 was our final today. We'll touch on a little bit more from the league as far as Major League Baseball is concerned a little bit later. This show goes by a series of segments, starting off with what we like to call lead off, or in batting terms, leading off. And leading off our show today, what was a 6-team league when play began for the Professional Women's Hockey League in 2023-2024 has since become an 8-team league, and now as season 3 of the PWHL wraps up and begins their postseason run with Montreal, Ottawa, Boston, and Minnesota, the 4 teams competing for a shot at Walter Cup, we add on a 9th team. Earlier this morning, as we are recording on Wednesday, May 6, 2026, we in the welcoming committee of Detroit, Michigan. That's right, PWHL fans. An 8-team league has now become a 9-team league. Welcome to the PWHL, all the way from Detroit, Michigan, in the Motor City, also known as Hockeytown, PWHL Detroit. Now, they will be set to begin play at next year's draft. I should say this year's draft, as that will be when they are forming their team. Their inaugural season will start 2026-2027, whenever the league begins its 4th season. Again, just to clarify here before I get into some opening thoughts on Detroit getting their own team. For those who are not aware, the PWHL began play with an original 6 team consisting of 3 teams from the Canadian side of things and 3 teams from the side of America. Those 3 teams to make up the original 6 in the PW, which began play in 2023 and 2024. On the American side, we had PWHL Minnesota, now known as the Minnesota Frost, PWHL Boston, now known as the Boston Fleet, and last but certainly not least, PWHL New York, now known as the New York Sirens. On the Canadian side, the 3-team markets, part of the original 6, the Toronto Scepters, formerly known as PWHL Toronto, the Ottawa Charge, formerly known as PWHL Ottawa, and last but certainly not least, PWHL Montreal, now called the Montreal Victoire, and most recently heading into play 2025-2026. We welcome the additions of PWHL Seattle on the American side and PWHL Vancouver on the Canadian side. It should be noted that both of these teams quickly received names following the adaptation of the Toronto Scepters, Boston Fleet, New York Sirens, Ottawa Charge, Minnesota Frost, and Montreal Victoire. Those team names for Seattle and Vancouver say hello to the Vancouver Golden Eyes, and in Seattle, Salt Lake City, in Seattle, Washington, I should say hello to the Seattle Torrent. Now, what will Detroit's team name be? Well, that right now remains up for debate. But one thing that I did take out of hearing the announcement today of PWHL Detroit officially joining the league was that the PWHL will be back in Detroit for the 2026 PWHL Draft later this year, heading into play for 2020, which is currently in the 2026 PWHL Walter Cup Playoffs. We are going to take a break, folks, on the program. When we return, we'll talk more about the PWHL, specifically talking about the matchups in this year's Walter Cup Playoffs. Then our conversation will shift from hockey to courtside as we take a look at the final tune-ups for the WNBA. Plus, I'll give you 3 of my expectations heading into the inaugural season of the Toronto Tempo. And I should note, the other team playing in its inaugural season is the Portland Fire, who also begin play in 2026, which is today, which is this year. Stick with us. We got some basketball content coming up on the program. More from the PWHL as we roll on. And a little later, who remains in the Stanley Cup Playoffs? What are we got going on in Major League Baseball? All of that still to come. This is Sports for Beginners. It is episode 7 of season 5. The title of that episode comes your way when we return. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Hi, Scott. It's Ali here. I just wanted to mention that I'm really enjoying the show and I'm really enjoying what you're putting together. And I wanted to just say I'm enjoying being a part of it as well. So please keep up the phenomenal work and make sure you guys keep this podcast going because it really suits you well.
Hey, Ali, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations.
About a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back to the show here, folks, on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. I'm your lovely host, Scott McGregor. If you would like to get in on any of our post-game coverage action, whether we have a guest on our program or we post-game coverage in general with just myself on the board, you can do so by emailing at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com, or we have a Discord server as well as a WhatsApp group chat. You can get in on all the specifics on that by visiting those links, which I will provide in the description of this episode. As I mentioned off the top of the show, the PWHL is expanding to Detroit, Michigan. I did want to take some time as we move in from the leadoff to talk about the PWHL playoffs. And we're going to do that before we take a look at the WNBA. Now, some of you may be wondering, why switch from hockey after the female side to female side of the basketball court? Well, there's a lot that's coming up for the WNBA as they get set for tip-off 2 days from today. By the time you hear this show, countdown to tip-off of the regular season for the WNBA will be underway. It's also the 30th WNBA season, but for the Toronto Tempo, it's season 1. The same can be said for the Portland Fire. With that said, let's come back over to women's hockey for a second. It's time to take a look at where things stand with the first week of PWHL action in the Walter Cup Playoffs done. It is the fourth, it is time for Game 3 tomorrow between the Minnesota Frost and the Montreal Victoire. Montreal, by the way, finished first in the PWHL regular season and earned a spot, at grabbing the first overall selection of the playoffs. The only overall selection of the playoffs, which means not only did they have home ice advantage, but they got to choose who their semifinal opponent would be in a best-of-5 series in which to compete for the Walter Cup and advance from the semifinal, you must win 3 games out of 5. Montreal decided to select the third-seeded Minnesota Frost, which ultimately led the Boston Fleet with the number 4 seed in the Ottawa Charge. Boston finished with the same amount of points as Montreal was able to finish in second place. In right now what was a 8-team league that has now become a 9-team league. Just spitballing here, I have a feeling there's more expansion for the PWHL to come, even as these playoffs play out. Montreal and Minnesota are tied in their series, which plays Game 3 on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. By the time you hear this, we will either have a leader in Montreal or Minnesota in that series. As we speak with you, Game 3 of the Boston-Ottawa series has yet to be played and will be played by the time you hear this show if we drop this on Friday, May 8th. But to get everybody up to speed, the playoffs began on April 30th with the Boston Fleet defeating the Ottawa Charge at home by a final score of 2-1. They would later be defeated by Ottawa 3-1 on May 2nd. Also on that day, Minnesota and Montreal got their series started, and that series has now seen 5 overtimes, with the winner on Tuesday, May 5th, just yesterday, being decided by Montreal in a third overtime. Montreal beating Minnesota in that game 1-0. They lost the opening game of the best of 5 series 5-4 in the first overtime of the series and first overtime game of the series. The final score was Minnesota 5, Montreal 4. We look for a leader as we enter into tomorrow's game between Minnesota and Montreal, as we also look for a leader with the series Boston and Ottawa shifting from Boston to Ottawa for Game 3 and Game 4. The PWHL Playoffs first round, which is our semifinal round, is set to finish up, if necessary, in 5 games, with the final 2 games playing out on Tuesday, May 12th for Ottawa and Boston, and Monday, May 11th for Minnesota and Montreal. Okay, folks, so still a lot of uncertainty when it comes to expansion. How many teams are joining in 2026-27? We have one. Will we have another? Remains to be seen. Amy Shear said if she was a betting girl, when we expanded to 2 teams to make it an 8-team league earlier this year before play began, we saw the addition of the Vancouver Golden Eyes and the Seattle Torrent. And now here comes the Detroit to be determined. Right now they are called PWHL Detroit. What will their team name be? Well, I've got a few pretty good ideas, but we might be here all day, and we don't really have a lot of time for that. So real quick here before we go to our second commercial break, as we'll pick up baseball and hockey on the men's side a little bit later. The season of the WNBA begins on Friday. However, when we look at the regular season, everybody is back at 0. Now, the preseason was interesting, but Toronto ended up losing both of their preseason games. Sad, really, for the Toronto team, but hey, it's only year 1. So we shall see what they have in store. Anyways, the league gets it going on Friday with the Connecticut Sun at the New York Liberty. The Tempo will open their season at the same time as New York Liberty, which opens their season at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Toronto, however, will be taking on the other game going on Friday will be at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and take place at the home of the Seattle Torrent, Seattle Kraken, as well, Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington, as the Seattle Storm open up their season against the Golden State Valkyries. Saturday, 4 games on the slate, including a couple of early bird matchups between the Dallas Wings and the Indiana Fever, the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury. That game tips off at 3:30 Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern is the Indiana Fever Dallas Wing. The Lynx will host the Dream at 8 p.m. Saturday night. And at 9 p.m., the Portland Fire open up their inaugural season against the Chicago Sky at 9 p.m. Opening weekend continues as Sunday. We get 4 games on the slate. The Seattle Storm take on the Connecticut Sun at 1 p.m. Eastern. At 3 p.m. Eastern, the Liberty are hosted by the Washington Mystics. 6 p.m., we've got the Aces at the Sparks. And the Golden State Valkyries will host the Phoenix Mercury at 8. With that said, that is the opening weekend, Friday, May 8th to Sunday, May 10th. We will take a commercial break. When we come back, who remains in the fight for Lord Stanley? What are my expectations for the Tempo? And After our final break of the program, it's last call, which means it's time for a little baseball action. Off the top, we mentioned the Blue Jays lost 3-0 to the Tampa Bay Rays earlier today, and they did not avoid being swept by the Tampa Bay Rays. Now they are getting set to begin a homestand. Find out who's on that homestand later in our show. Who's in it still for the Stanley Cup Playoffs? Expectations for the Toronto Tempo, all when Sports for Beginners Season 5, Episode 7, titled WNBA 30th Season, starts Friday and more, continues. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Have you ever wanted a talk show that discusses news, politics, the show's favorite sports teams, as well as sports media and broadcasting? Check out The Ali Musa Show, where we discuss these topics in a single package. To learn more about the show, please visit thealimusashow.ca. While you're over there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali Musa Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen. To learn more about the network, please visit the musaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're there, subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back to the program, folks. My name is Scott McGregor. We're on to our third segment of the show, which means we are at the halfway point of the program. And we're going to kick it off here. We not normally will share our screen, but we're going to see how it goes today. As there was some breaking news around the NHL as we drift over there for a little bit. One of the biggest breaking news moments in NHL happened last night at the NHL Draft Lottery. Now, folks, for hockey fans, I'm not going to say that the NHL Draft Lottery is rigged. I'm not going to say that. No. I'm not going to say that. No. Okay, folks. Anyways, it goes on to say the Maple Leafs have a monumental type of opportunity after winning the NHL Draft Lottery, which took place on a potential of selecting Gavin McKenna or a player named Stenberg among the tasks now facing new management of the legend, a Maple Leaf legend, and a guy who has been away from the NHL for 5 years, 5 seasons, rather. Well, 5 years. We'll go with 5 years. Maple Leaf Nation, say hello to a legend in Matt Sundin. Yep, that's right, Matt Sundin. And you're also saying hello to, in management, John Chayka. Now, we'll talk about John Chayka and Matt Sundin and what their new roles entail another time. But according to Mike Ziesberger of NHL.com, a staff writer. Sorry, Mike, if I pronounced your last name wrong. He said, congratulations on your new jobs, Matt Sundin and John Chayka. In lieu of a nice bottle of wine, how does the number 1 pick in the 2026 NHL Draft sound as a welcoming gift? Come to think of it, there aren't many things that could be a better one. Just consider what the new leadership regime of the Toronto Maple Leafs went through in a head-spinning 48-hour span. On Sunday, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment released a statement announcing the hiring of Matt Sundin as the Senior Executive Advisor Hockey Operations and John Chayka as the 19th General Manager in the franchise's history. On Monday, the two were publicly announced at a press conference that became heated at times and viewed skeptically by some media members and fans. Then on Tuesday came the deonment. Hopefully I said that right. If I didn't say that right, I apologize. With Sundin, the Maple Leafs, and Hockey Hall of Fame legend representing the organization as part of the NHL Draft Lottery show. Toronto, which came into the night with the fifth best odds of winning the lottery, 8.5%, shocked its supporters and perhaps itself when the ping pong balls fell in its favor. The shock, the immediacy of it all had Chayka summoning it up in 3 simple words. Just, yeah, elated, he said. He should be, because on a night when it could have all gone so wrong, it instead couldn't have ended up better. Hey fans, I'll leave this up for debate for you. Who would you rather the Maple Leafs take first overall in the 2026 draft? Here are your selections according to Sam Cosentino. You got defenseman Chase Reed, 18 years old, playing in the OHL. You got Keaton Verschhoff, Keaton V, defenseman, 17 years old, currently playing in the NCAA. You also have NCAA forward, 18-year-old Gavin McKenna. Or how about Iver Stenberg, forward from the SHL? The two names that top the list of availability players for the Leafs to draft are forwards Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg, both 18 years old, one from the NCAA and one from the SHL. One from Penn State, and one from Sweden. Matt Sundin said, the Toronto Maple Leafs are, in my opinion, the greatest hockey franchise in the world. It's definitely the greatest fan base with support not only in Ontario and Toronto, but across North America. He added, it's a great opportunity for whoever is going to be first overall to come in and represent the Toronto Maple Leafs. So whoever it is going to be is going to enjoy it. Let's talk playoffs for a second, now that we got that out of the way. Now, Penguins fans, I know we're all wondering, what's the latest on Gino? What's the latest on the big three? I know. And right now I don't have an update for you. But when Josh Yohe tweeted out one time earlier this week that Gino and Kyle Dubas would be meeting, it seems to me like something is in the air. Now, in the first round of the playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins lost 4-2 to the Philadelphia Flyers in just the 8th playoff meeting in the history of the Battle of PA rivalry. The Philadelphia Flyers are currently trailing the Carolina Hurricanes 2-0, and Carolina had defeated Ottawa in their first round series 4-0. On the other side of the coin in the Eastern Conference, the two teams that get it going tonight in Buffalo and Montreal feature two teams that played almost to Game 7 for Buffalo, but Buffalo ended it in 6 games, winning 4-2 over the Boston Bruins in the series that is. The Montreal Canadiens went into overtime. I should say not overtime. They went into a Game 7, and it was Montreal coming out with the win. They beat Tampa Bay 2-1 in Tampa Bay in Game 7 to advance to the second round of the playoffs, where they will meet the Buffalo Sabres. On the western side of the coin, The Colorado Avalanche made quick work of the Los Angeles Kings and now are 2 games away, just like Carolina, who sit as President's Trophy winners and the current number 1 overall seed in the NHL lead. To the Vegas side of things. Both Vegas and Anaheim ended their series in 6 games, with Anaheim defeating the Edmonton Oilers 4-2. And I gotta say, I did like a little bit of what I saw from the Utah Mammoth. And Vegas has the opening lead, winning Game 1 on Monday night, 3-1 over Anaheim, with a win at home against the Ducks. We look at games that are in Game 2. One of those games tonight is the Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks. Colorado and Carolina each have a 2-game lead on Philadelphia and Minnesota. While things get back up and running on Thursday for Philadelphia, the Colorado Avalanche will have their Game 3 when we see Game 4 go down between Carolina and Philly on Saturday night, May 8th, May 9th. The Canucks president of hockey operations, Jim Rutherford, plans to step down as Vancouver Canucks president of hockey operations after the 2026 Upper Deck NHL Draft. But he will help hire the next general manager first before stepping down. Jim Rutherford made the announcement after the NHL Draft Lottery on Tuesday, when the Canucks fell to the number 3 overall pick, despite finishing last in the league this season. 77-year-old said he will remain with the team as an advisor and alternative governor, saying, "I'm going to get away from the day-to-day operations. This is something I've thought about anyways for a couple of years, but it's time for me to do that. I feel bad that I have to do it at such a young age, but I decided to do it anyways." Rutherford said it had not been determined whether a new president of hockey operations would be hired to replace him. He was the first in the role for the Canucks since former team captain Trevor Linden left the job in 2018. All right, folks, last call is on the way. And upon reaching last call, as we take a commercial break here, when we return from this break, I will give you 3 expectations for the Toronto Tempo this year as they begin play in their inaugural season. Will I give you an inaugural season record? Probably not. And before last call is up, as we prepare to sign off, following that, we will give you what's to come on our next episode. Spoiler alert, depending on the day it drops. We could be talking all baseball. We could be talking about one sport, maybe not baseball, but you'll find out what we're planning to do after we start last call, which we do so after the break. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Have you ever wondered about the books we've been reading throughout the week?
Are you looking for friendly banter and technology tips at the same time?
Then you've come to the right place.
Check out the Ali and McKenna Show. It airs live on Sunday afternoons at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Until spring. In the spring, we'll switch back to Mondays.
To learn more about the show, please visit thealiandmckenna.ca.
While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. And besides, it's free.
Enter your email address and hit subscribe.
The Ali and McKenna Show is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca.
Enter your email and hit subscribe so you never miss network updates.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Hey Allie, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations.
About a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodian Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back, folks, to Sports for Beginners, Episode 7, Season 5. I'm your host, Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for being with us. First and foremost, before we get into last call and we get into, as promised, a couple of takeaways, or rather expectations for the Toronto Tempo as they begin play this year starting on Friday in the WNBA. If you enjoyed what you have been listening to so far, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Weekly in Sports with Scott McGregor. We only have the one channel where you can get Sports for Beginners, Weekly in Sports, and so much more. Please also consider subscribing to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, including TuneIn and iHeartRadio. We are there as well. If you would like to get in on any of our bonus action, you can do so by sending an email to sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com, or by following along on our Discord server. Link will be provided in the description below. I have given thought to giving us a Facebook messenger group, but I have not made it official yet. One thing that is official, however, is you can check out the WhatsApp group chat. And if you have any problems with Discord, you can always head over to our WhatsApp group chat. And now, last but certainly not least, check in periodically to our Facebook page. Link will be in the description of the episode for show updates, as well as also checking in to our website, sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com, for all the latest news and updates. I also have considered maybe starting a newsletter, but we'll see. One thing at a time. One of my key takeaways, though, or expectations rather, as I said, is playing good basketball. NBA fans know, and if you've listened to the WNBA, you also know that when you don't play good basketball, it can lead to losses, too many turnovers, steals that go the other way, as I mentioned, as turnovers, and so much more. With that all being said, I do have another expectation, which is be cautious with the basketball. That plays into what I said earlier in playing good basketball. And my third expectation is try to stay out of foul trouble, especially early in the game, as much as possible. Because when you get into foul trouble, things can turn on you really quickly. So it is imperative that you stay out of foul trouble as much as humanly possible. I do have a prediction for the Tempo inaugural season, and I believe the Tempo will at least win 30 games this year. I don't see them going undefeated. in their inaugural season. It will shock me if they do, But then again, stranger things have happened in sports. So I'm going to say in a 44 game season, I'm going to say the Tempo go, I'll make it realistically here. I'm going to say the Tempo go 14. No, let's make it 20. Well, actually, no. Let's go. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to say the Toronto Tempo finish their inaugural season with a record. It's a 44 game season. So I'm going to say they finish with a record 19-17. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't think they get there undefeated. I really don't. So I'm going with a prediction of 19-17 for the Toronto Tempo inaugural season. And that's my prediction. I'm locking it in. All right, folks, let's flip the page to we're going to flip it to basketball for the NBA finals a little later, maybe on our next episode. But let's flip the page to baseball for a little bit, as that is one of the key things we do here on our program. As mentioned off the top of the show, today the Blue Jays drop 3-0 to the Tampa Bay Rays. One other game that just went final today, the Milwaukee Brewers take care of business against the St. Louis Cardinals, beating the Cardinals. They improve to 19-16. The Cardinals drop to 20-15. The Rays, who beat the Blue Jays, improve to 24-12. Blue Jays drop to 16-21. On the go right now, the LA Dodgers are going to town on the Houston Astros, leading the Astros in the top of the 8th inning, 11-2. In the bottom of the 4th, the San Diego Padres lead the Giants 1-0 in San Francisco. No score between the Braves and the Mariners, bottom of 2. And top of 2, the White Sox lead the Angels 1-0 with the bases loaded and 2 out in the top of the 2nd inning. All right, so here's how we stand so far as of right now. We are in week number 7, and the New York Yankees have remained at the top of the chart. They are 25-11, but the Tampa Bay Rays 1 game back of the New York Yankees, 7 games up in the wild card. The Rays are 24-12. The Orioles set to play the Marlins on later tonight, and the Red Sox are getting set to take on the Tigers, also coming up at 6:40 p.m. Eastern tonight. So the way the East stands right now, Toronto is 4th, Baltimore 3rd, Tampa Bay 2nd, Yankees are 1st, and the Red Sox are at the bottom of the barrel. Red Sox 15-21, Blue Jays 16-21. If the Red Sox were to get a win today, that would put Toronto and Boston at a tied record of 16-21. Baltimore's record right now, if they lose, that could also be tied at 16-21. But if they can get a win, they will move a game ahead of Toronto, becoming 17-20. Over in the AL Central, the Tigers leading that division, but that's actually a tied division right now. Both the Guardians and the Tigers tied at 18 wins and 19 losses. White Sox in 3rd place right now at 17 wins, 19 losses. Also in 3rd place, as that's a tie as well, Kansas City with 17 wins, 19 losses. Minnesota sits at 16-20. And in the AL West, Athletics leading that division, 18 wins, 17 losses. Seattle leading, I should say, not too far behind. They are only 2 games back of the Athletics at 17-20. The Texas Rangers, 16-19. Houston Astros, 15-22. And the Los Angeles Angels, 14-23. I'd go over the NL division standings, but we would be here all day. But basically, as we sit here in our last call, Atlanta is on top in the East at 26-11. The Dodgers are on top in the West, 22-14, and the Cubs are 24-12, leading the NL Central. Philadelphia behind the Atlanta Braves at 16-20. Washington also 16-20, that's the Nationals. And the Marlins are also 16-20. The New York Mets are at 13-22. The Central sees behind the Cubs, the St. Louis Cardinals at 21-14. Cincinnati Reds 20-16. Milwaukee Brewers 18-16. Pirates at 19-17. And in the Dodgers division, right behind them, we have the San Diego Padres at 21-14. The Diamondbacks at 500 with a win and loss record of 17 wins and 17 losses each. San Francisco and Colorado currently have, as we are talking to you, as of May 6, 2026 at 3 p.m. at 3:27 p.m. I should say Eastern Time, a record of 14 wins and 22 losses. Both teams with 14 wins and 22 losses. Pittsburgh with 19 wins, 17 losses. The Mets 13 wins, 22 losses. And with that said, other games to come as we close out the program here and check back in. We've got the Red Sox and Tigers coming up at 40. Also at 6:40 and 6:45 p.m., we've got the Twins and Nationals, Orioles and Marlins, and Phillies Athletics. Coming up at 7 p.m., we've got 5 minutes after 7 p.m., the New York Yankees and the Texas Rangers. At 7:40 p.m., we've got the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Chicago Cubs. The Cleveland Guardians are taking on the Kansas City Royals, also at 7:40 p.m. And in the late window at the 9:20 p.m. mark and 9:40 p.m. mark, we will see the Colorado Rockies host the New York Mets, and the Pittsburgh Pirates host, I should say, the Arizona Diamondbacks. A win by the Pirates today, and that will put them one win away from 500. On the ongoing action, bottom of two, still 1-0 White Sox, 2 out, bottom two. Runners at the corners. To the bottom of the third we go between Seattle and Atlanta, still no score. Bottom of the fifth in San Francisco, the Giants trail the Padres 1-0. Off to the ninth inning we go in Houston. Houston's trailing 11-2 to the Dodgers. And folks, it's time to find out what's in store for the program on the next show. On our next show, whether that be Monday or next week, probably going to be next week, the continuation of talking about the MLB, specifically going around the baseball side of things with the Toronto Blue Jays, as Trey Yesavage has most recently returned from the IL. We are getting some questions on George Springer. We also are getting some interesting notes on Addison Barger and when he will return. He could return when the Blue Jays return home, but we don't know. I'm willing to bet, not money, but I'm willing to bet Blue Jays get Addison Barger, maybe Jose Barrios back at this homestand where they will face the Tampa Bay Rays Monday to Wednesday. All games are night games, but before that, they will be off tomorrow on their way home for a Mother's Day weekend series against the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto in Los Angeles, and now the series for Toronto and Los Angeles, the Angels that is, shifts to Toronto. City Connect Fridays gets it going on Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then it's Barbie Game Day on May 9th. And then bring mom and maybe the whole family down to the park for Junior J's Mother's Day, presented by the Ontario Honda dealers, the respective sponsor of that day, on May 10th. The Miami Marlins and the Pittsburgh Pirates are also coming up at home, but that's not till after the Blue Jays go on the road into Detroit and then New York. And then, of course, they've got the Orioles coming up later in the month of May. All right, folks, we got some baseball to cover next week on our next program, but thank you so much for being with us. That will do it for this edition of the program. As I mentioned off the top of the program, if you like what you were listening to, watching, please consider subscribing to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever available, including iHeartRadio and TuneIn. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel Weekly in Sports with Scott. And of course, check us out on Facebook by searching Sports for Beginners into your web browser directory on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter, Scott McGregor3. You can also follow me on Instagram, SMC_A7_. And the best way you can contact me right now is Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231@gmail.com. Before I sign out for the eve of a 4-game road trip series in Baltimore, we'll recap the Miami Marlins series. I'll give you some of my takeaways from that homestand. WNBA bonus show on Weekly in Sports with select WNBA bonus shows on Sports for Beginners. And they also may be episode-based shows. But for right now, that is it for this one. Thank you so much for being with us. Until we talk to you again, we kindly remind you, love one another. And with Mother's Day weekend on the horizon, as we record this, I want to wish all the mothers out there, including my mom, a very happy Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to you all. We'll talk to you again next week as Season 5 of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, continues next week with more hands-on duty baseball coverage that I'm sure you will not want to miss. But until next time, I'm Scott McGregor saying, Happy Mother's Day, everybody, and we will talk to you real soon. It is not goodbye. It is until next time. We'll see you next week right here on Sports for Beginners. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.
Hey Allie, did you know we have a books panel?
I did not know that. When is it?
It takes place on the last Friday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Where we have fun and engaging conversations
about a book that one of the panelists picks.
So, how can I learn more about the show?
To learn more, please visit bookspanel.ca. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update. Besides, it's free. Enter your email and hit subscribe.
The Books Pen is part of the Musa Slobodia Network, where good conversations happen.
To learn more about the network, please visit themusaslobodiannetwork.ca. While you're over there, hit subscribe so you never miss a network update. Enter your email and hit subscribe.